This video will demonstrate how to install the DFME-MCIO LiveScan management software on a new workstation. If LSMS was previously installed on this workstation, or you need to migrate previous fingerprint records to it, please first watch the LSMS migration video. Before we get started with the installation process, here are a few acronyms and terms you should get familiar with. Press pause if you need some time to review. Listed here are a few basic components needed for a successful implementation of LiveScan. As you'll see, the software components, you need a domain-connected PC workstation with Windows 10 Secure Host Baseline operating system loaded, a NIPRNet IP address with HTTPS allowed inbound and outbound, and the Cross-Mesh Technologies LSMS software to be installed. As far as hardware components go, recommend using the Cross-Mesh Technologies LScan 1000, which is a USB 3 digital fingerprint palm scanner, or the 1000px Firewire scanner. Your configuration may be a booking station, which is a cabinet with a monitor, or maybe a jump kit, which in this case, you'd use a laptop. Additionally, you'll need a digital signature pad and a USB camera for capturing mugshots, scars, marks, tattoos, etc. Here's a summarized list of the steps you'll see as we go through the actual install process. First and foremost, you need to be logged on as an administrator of the PC, as you need to access certain files and directories that only administrators have access to. You'll copy them to a temporary directory. If it doesn't exist, you can create one. You'll run this using the PowerShell command, specifically running it as an administrator, and then execute the command that you see here. You're going to accept any defaults such as next, yes, or okay. Then you're going to set up the workstation and workspace specific properties. Lastly, you're going to set up an LSMS administrator who will manage the users and the LSMS configuration from this point forward. Please note that the LSMS administrator does not require admin privileges on the PC. The last step for the PC administrator would be to log off and have the LSMS administrator log on, do the configuration, and do testing. As previously discussed, the first step is going to be to copy the LiveScan management software installation files to a temp directory on your hard drive. These files can be obtained from your LSMS agency lead. In this case, I have it on the desktop already as LSMS 8.5.7.4. If we open this up, you can see there are 3 files in there: the executable, a README file, and an ISS setup file. Let's take a look at the README file. In here it lists different types of installations: an interactive installation, a silent install. What I like to do is underneath the silent install, they actually have a PowerShell script, which is how we're going to run this. Here's the actual installation verbiage that we're going to run, but we are going to make a modification. We're going to take out the silent portion of it. When it is actually running the install, it's going to load multiple files. It'll load .NET Framework if it's not already there, or if it needs to be upgraded. It'll load the LSMS core, different configurations, different workspaces, along with the submissions manager, which is what's used to actually send the packages to the FBI through the Army Store and Forward server over HTTPS, as well as the signature pad driver. So let's go ahead and copy these files. I'm going to highlight them all. I'm going to right click and choose copy. Then I'm going to navigate down to my C drive. I'm going to create a new folder on the C drive called temp. Then I'm going to right click and paste those 3 files into that folder. And now I'm going to run through the install. What I need to do is I need to go to PowerShell. So I'm going to start typing the word power. I'm going to right click on PowerShell and choose Run as Administrator. This is key. Must do this first. Yes, I want to make changes to the device. All right, brings me up into a command prompt. Now, I saved those files into the temp directory, so I'm going to change the directory into C:\temp. If I type dir to list what's in the directory, you'll see the three files I was referring to, the README, the setup file, along with the actual executable. I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up that README file. Because in this README file is the script that I want to run, or the actual process. So I'm going to highlight this, copy it. I'm going to open it up in Notepad because I want to edit it very quickly. First, I want to get rid of that bullet. And I'm going to remove this portion here, which is a silent install. I want to see things as they're being installed, at least for demonstration purposes. Now, if I copy this entire line, this is what I'm going to then right-click and paste into my PowerShell window, which I'm in the right directory. And let's get started. All right, so now it's starting the actual install wizard. And let's go ahead and choose to install. So at first it's doing the install of 8.5.7 core. You'll notice the LiveScan shortcut appeared on the desktop. I was trying to load some of the appropriate drivers, and it's loading the primary configuration workspace for the federal MCIO DFME. Now it's loading an older version of the Federal Army CID configuration. This configuration is only for those offices that had prior versions and needed to open up older versions of records. Now there are two OPM configurations that come with this. If you're an Army installation, you are going to delete these workspaces afterwards. Now it's loading the submissions manager. This is the tool that actually does the submission from your workstation to the store and forward server, then on to the FBI. And this is how you know that you're at the end of the installation. It's one of the last things that's installed. Along with the signature pad driver. You see on the left-hand side the cross-match submission manager icon. So now it's opening the service. The service will start every time you reboot the system. It'll always be running, ready for transactions to send and receive. I'll close this out for now, and we'll choose Finish here. We're now done with the PowerShell window, so we'll close that. No longer need the README file. close that as well. And so our next step then is to, let's open up LiveScan. Now, the first time you open up LiveScan, it's going to ask you for some configuration information. And you'll need to get with your agency lead to determine what your exact office code is. For a CID office, it would start with CID, and then it would be whatever the alerts office code number is. In this case, I'll do the one for the Crime Record Center, which is 001. Please do not use 001 if you're not the Crime Record Center. Get with your agency lead to know what your office code is. And again, it should be the same as your office code for alerts. If I have multiple workstations, I need to put in the workstation number here. That's again, if there's only one, you put in 01. If this is number 3, you put in 03. I'll leave it at 03. And then for the ORI, this is particular. If you're from an Army office, you'll choose VA USA 1400. If you're OSI, you'll choose this next one. NCIS, the third one. Marine Corps will be the fourth one, and then Air Force Security Forces is this last one. So since I'm from an Army office, I'm choosing VA USA 1400. I click Done. Anytime you make a configuration change, it's going to require a restart from submissions. That's okay. We're going to reboot the system afterwards. And then the very first window you'll see every time you log into LSMS is a status window. That'll let you know if you have records that are incomplete or complete records that have not been transmitted or those that are still queued for submission. We'll go into this later, but obviously these are all set to zeros because we just installed the software. And now for the last step for the PC administrator to do is to set up an administrator for LSMS. And again, that the LSMS administrator does not require admin rights once they're set up, but they're the ones that are going to control who has access to LSMS and what their other roles are going to be. So if I go to Tools and Options, I go to Users, you can see these are the users that are built in there by default. Administrator, Training, and then who I'm logged on as currently, the local admin of this workstation. I need to add a new entry for an actual person to log in. So I'm going to click Add New Entry. Under the username, I need to put the actual name of the user's profile that's on this system. So let me go to the C drive. I'm going to navigate down to Users. And there's 3 users on here. There's one legitimate user, CAC enabled. This is their profile. I need to make sure that I take this name exactly as it is and create it under username here. So I'm going to choose this as my new user. I'm going to rename as the one we specified. Put in the first name and last name as applicable. And I'm going to make this person an LSMS administrator. They're going to have the ability to do all the rest of the administration on this system as need be. I'm going to choose Accept. And I'm going to choose Close. Now close out LSMS, and I'm going to restart the system. Log back in as the LSMS administrator and configure the rest of the workstation properties. Okay, now I'm logged on as the LSMS administrator. I have plugged my LScan 1000 USB digital fingerprint scanner into the USB port. It's currently on, and I need to do a couple things here before we let other users log in and start running. Those are listed here. I'm going to clean up some of the workspaces that I don't need that came pre-configured. I'm going to configure a PDF printer as a default, so if we want to keep an archive of a record, it'll print to a PDF. I'll configure the scanner itself to make sure it's operational. Then we'll take some test prints and we'll send those to the FBI and get a verification back. So let me open up LiveScan for the first time as the administrator of LSMS. going to accept this warning after reading through very quickly the license agreement. As we stated before, it's going to show us the status of any records we've taken before, and this is brand new, so there's no records to worry about. Okay, here we are. If you go to File, you have the ability to select workspaces. In this case, there are 4 different workspaces loaded. Now, this is a brand new install, so I don't need any of the workspaces except for the top one. If I was going from a previous implementation and I had older records, I'd want to keep the MCIO DFME configuration and the Federal Army CID configuration. Army installations have no reason to keep the OPM and the OPM test only, so we're going to get rid of those first off. So we click Cancel, going up to Tools, Options, Workspace Selection and Setup. I don't need any of the OPM ones, so I'm going to delete. Yes, and delete OPM test as well. Okay. And I'll go ahead and accept those changes. And I can close out of here now. You can see those 2 workspaces are gone. Now I'm going to minimize this for just a moment. There is a place within the tools and configuration to set up printers. But really, if I'm using this for a very specific purpose, this workstation, it's only for this, the only thing I ever want to be able to print to really is the PDF. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the workstation itself for the default printer to be PDF. So I'm going to choose printers and scanners. I'm going to go down and uncheck let Windows manage my default printer because I want to manage it. I'm going to go to Microsoft Print to PDF and then make sure, so I just choose manage and make sure that one is set as default. Close this and close this. And so from this point forward, anybody that tries to print a record would automatically print to PDF. Now I need to configure the scanner. Like I said, it's currently connected to USB 3.0 port. So go to Options, and go to Plugins, which is under Devices. I'll see that certain plugins are automatically enabled. One's for doing standard 10 prints, one for doing palm prints, which is what this one's capable of doing, one for doing images. So if I did that USB camera, I could take the mugshots, scars, marks, tattoos, and the signature pad. I'm going to go in here to the fingerprint standard. You go to Scanner Options. You go to Scanner Properties. Since it's selected, already plugged in, it's going to attempt to detect the scanner. Okay, and it found it, and it found the serial number as well. Now I'm going to go to the palm print scanner as well. Click on Scanner. Notice it automatically set it for resolution. I could choose, if I had a different type of scanner, the 500 DPI or the LScan 1000, which this is, I'll select that one. And I'm going to click OK and accept. Close. I'm going to close out LSMS. and then I'm going to reopen. Again, I have not submitted any yet. Okay. And now we should be ready to take and create a new record. Now, when you click New, you're going to get two options. Either one, to create a CAR, which is a criminal 10-print submission that we can send to the FBI, formerly known as a FD-249, or to do an R84, a disposition file, a DSPE. In this case, we're going to create a 10-print record for submission to the FBI. Click OK. Now we have our fingerprint record. So every yellow field is a mandatory field, and if it's not, there's nothing in there, you'll see down here in kind of the error field that something is still missing mandatory field, FBI retention type. Well, FBI retention type in this case, I'm just going to do an FBI record check, do not retain. It's an inquiry only. Since we're doing a test record. Criminal investigation type, I can choose arrestee or elimination. In this case, I'm going to choose arrestee. I'll leave all the other ones as default. Notice it's sending to the FBI via the Army Crime Record Center, which is where the store and forward server is for all of DoD. Since I'm coming from an Army installation, it's an Army record, I'm sending it from the Army. Were we trying to help out our fellow services and they needed to use our LiveScan, for example, if in Air Force OSI, we could actually choose Air Force OSI as sending through us to the FBI, but you need to make sure that you change that back on your next transmission. So let me set it back for Army. I'm going to move on to the next screen. Now it's critical when sending a test record that there are 3 areas where you must put the word test. One's in the last name field, should be test. The first name field is test. And there's a field for booking official that we'll find here later that also must be test. Otherwise, you still have to fill in the mandatory fields. So birth date. And so I'll choose a realistic birth date. Okay. Place of birth. Let's choose Nebraska. Social Security number. Miscellaneous identification number. Notice if I choose a Social Security number, obviously that's not a real one. The miscellaneous identification numbers are not needed. Of course, if I was doing a real record, I'd want to fill in as much of this information as possible. If I go to additional information, originating agency case number, because this is, we're pretending this is a CID case, I'll use the alerts format, which if you highlight over one of these fields, it'll tell you what format to use for Army law enforcement, OSI, NCIS, Marine Corps, and our Air Force security forces. So I'll choose, this was a real case from this year. The arrest date, I'll leave it as is for now. Again, since I'm just doing a test record, I'm going to put the other information in there. Notice here's that booking official. It's listed as test. So as long as first name test, last name test, booking official is set for test, and the criminal investigation record type is arrestee, when I send this, it will get routed to the Army store and forward server, and then it will get routed to the FBI's test server, but should get a response back. Now I notice there's still some missing mandatory fields, so for now I'm just going to go look for any additional yellow fields. And here we go. I'm just going to choose some at random. Because this is a test record, obviously if it's a real record you want to choose the right information. 2 inches, 195 pounds. Now they've changed it. Let's do 6 foot. And now I need to put in some sort of offense. That's a qualifying offense. The offense date, I'll choose today's date. And the offense code, I'm hitting this from a drop down. I can choose by knowing the offense code, I can look up different things, basically with using parameters such as starts with or contains. And I'll just choose 80 just for now. I could put in additional notes. It will be sent to the FBI, their IAFIS, and it would require DNA to be collected. And because I chose one that requires DNA, the CODIS kit number would have to be filled in. And that's back under additional information. I'm just going to put the CODIS number in there for now. This is because I have not yet taken a print for the first time with this fingerprint system. So let me save. Let's move on to taking some fingerprints. Choose fingerprints and choose capture. It'll now bring up the cross-match screen where I'll start to take some prints. It'll direct me on how to do this. And let me know when I've got a good print, and I'll move on to the next. I'll go ahead and take these prints. I'll pause the video for now so we don't waste too much time. Okay, as you can see, I've taken the fingerprints now. And if I go back to data, was before, you'll notice there are 0 errors at this point since I've taken that first set of prints. Now I need to move on to taking the palm prints. So again, I hit capture. And I'll begin to take the palm prints. Okay, as you can see, I've taken the palm prints, left upper, left lower, writer's palm, etc. At this point, I'm not going to take any images or do any signatures. I can look at the forms itself and see what the front of the card would look like. It's zoomed in, and the back of the card, etc. But I'm at a point where I want to just verify the data. In order to send an a test print, I need to choose arrestee. The transaction tab, the personal, I need to have last name of test, first name of test. Under additional information, the booking official must be set for test, and I've got to have the other mandatory fields completed. At this point, I'm going to lock this record. gives me a warning about photos to be taken. If I needed to take photos, in this case I'm doing a test, I do not need to take the photos. Yes, I want to proceed. And then the next thing I want to do is click transmit. I'm going to quickly verify that the submission manager tool is operational. All right, ready for transactions. It's green. Responses, ready to receive responses. Okay, good. And I'm going to go ahead and click transmit. I submit this transaction for processing. Yes. So it's transmitting. Now it says transmitted. I go to submissions. It takes a few minutes for it to do the transmit. You go into submissions tab. Here's the criminal arrest record I sent. Test. Here's the TCN. It's currently queued. It's waiting to be submitted. Okay, now notice it says transmitted okay. If I go to my submission manager, I can see that it said that was processed and then submitted. Not sure if I've gotten a response back yet. Zero responses. Sometimes this takes a little while. Got to go to my history. Again, I can see that it was sent. Here's the SSN, the name, the case number, etc. Who was submitted and created by. That was complete. 14 fingerprints, 6 palms. Go back to submissions. And still waiting for response.